You ever wake up with that strange pressure in your chest, like something inside you is pushing to break out? The kind of restless energy that makes it impossible to sit still, yet somehow leaves you stuck in the same place? You know exactly what I'm talking about, because almost every man today has felt it. That constant cycle: wake up, feel the drive, then you kill it in 5 minutes with the same quick fix. And afterward, you're lying there, drained, staring at the ceiling, wondering why you feel weaker instead of stronger. Tell me, how many times have you promised yourself that tomorrow you'll change? That tomorrow you'll finally hit the gym, finish that project, or start building the life you know you're capable of? And how many times did that promise vanish the moment you traded your energy for cheap release? This is the trap modern men fall into every single day. A loop that looks like relief, but feels like regret. A routine that keeps you numb, distracted, and weaker than you should be. The truth is, what you've been told is normal is actually destroying the very force that could build your future. The same drive that once built civilizations, won wars, and created greatness has been weaponized against you. So here's the real question. Are you going to keep feeding that cycle of temporary comfort and long-term weakness? Or are you ready to reclaim your power and turn that restless energy into unstoppable strength? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how to break free and why most men never do. Every man alive today is living through a crisis no one talks about. On the surface, it looks like we've never had more freedom, more comfort, more entertainment. You've got endless streaming shows, unlimited scrolling, instant food, instant sex on a screen, and instant gratification for every possible craving. Yet underneath, something is dying. Look around. Do men today feel stronger, sharper, more ambitious than past generations? Or do they feel weaker, more distracted, and stuck in a haze of half-lived potential? You already know the answer. Modern men aren't running out of opportunities. They're running out of drive. And it's not an accident. The same systems built to entertain you are designed to drain you. Every quick fix, every dopamine hit, every easy outlet is teaching your body one thing: settle for less. Settle for the path of least resistance. Your biology, the very wiring of your brain and hormones, was built for pressure. It was designed for the fight, for the chase, for building and conquering. But instead of using that raw energy to climb higher, you're burning it off on shortcuts that leave you emptier than before. And the more you repeat it, the weaker your system becomes. Not just mentally, physically, biologically. Think about it. The male body was built to hold and channel energy. Testosterone was never meant to be wasted on endless stimulation. Dopamine was never meant to be tricked by fake victories on a screen. That storm you feel inside, that restless energy that refuses to calm down, that's the engine of creation. That's the same power that built monuments, started companies, led armies, and shaped history. But today, it's being turned against you. You've been conditioned to believe that the urge you feel is a problem that needs a release, and every time you release it the easy way, you're robbing yourself of the very fire that could have forged a new version of you. This is why so many men feel stuck. They chase momentary relief instead of letting tension build into strength. They've been tricked into thinking the game is about comfort, when in reality the game has always been about control. Control over your impulses, control over your energy, control over where that drive goes. Because here's the truth, Sexual energy is not just about sex. It's about life itself. It's the core of motivation. It's the pressure that pushes you to lift heavier, to think bigger, to risk more, to create something that lasts. When you let it leak away through cheap release, you're telling your body you've already won. But you haven't won anything. You've just pressed a button that makes you feel like a king, while your life stays exactly the same. Your biology doesn't know the difference between reality and simulation. The same chemicals that reward you after real conquest flood your system after fake ones. Prolactin, dopamine crashes, lower testosterone. That's why you feel tired, unmotivated, and strangely done after you give in. Nature thinks you've already reproduced, so your drive shuts off. But you haven't built anything. You haven't conquered anything. You haven't earned anything. You've tricked your system into relaxing when it should be rising. That's why this is more than a habit. It's a hijacking, a theft of your masculinity at the biological level. Look at the bigger picture. Every great achievement in history came from men who refused to let that energy go to waste. They let it build until it had no choice but to explode into action. Building, inventing, creating, conquering. That frustration you feel, that hunger, that's the same fuel they used. But modern life has given you a release valve that feels good in the moment while making sure nothing ever changes. And if you keep pressing that valve, you'll live your entire life with just enough comfort to keep you quiet and just enough numbness to stop you from rising. This is why most men today walk around in a daze. They feel a flicker of ambition, but it never lasts. They promise themselves change, but the fire burns out by tomorrow. It's not because they're lazy or broken. It's because their system is hacked. The very hormones designed to make them relentless builders are being short-circuited by habits that were never part of nature. Instead of pressure driving them to greatness, it dissipates in a cloud of fake satisfaction. Instead of growing sharper, they grow duller. Instead of getting hungrier, they get weaker. And every cycle makes it harder to break free. But here's the truth most men never hear: that restlessness inside you is not a curse. It's a weapon. It's the strongest force you'll ever have. That tension that makes you uncomfortable, that's energy begging to be turned into something real. The problem is not that you feel it. The problem is that you've been taught to get rid of it instead of mastering it. The world tells you relief is the goal, but the real goal is power. And power only comes when you can hold the fire long enough to let it transform you. Imagine what your life would look like if every ounce of that energy was pointed at something that mattered. Your body, your career, your craft, your relationships. Instead of wasting it, you'd be feeding it into the engine of growth. That's when you stop being the man who promises and starts being the man who delivers. That's when you stop coasting and start climbing. And the truth is, most men will never experience that shift. They'll keep giving in, keep draining themselves, keep wondering why their potential feels out of reach. But you don't have to. You can make the choice to hold the energy, to build the pressure, and to let it shape you into someone unrecognizable from the man you are today. This is not about repression. It's not about pretending you don't feel what you feel. It's about understanding that your desire is not an enemy. It's fuel. It's the strongest, rawest form of motivation you'll ever get. And once you realize that, once you stop treating it like a problem to escape and start treating it like a force to wield, your entire life changes. That's why this matters. That's why this isn't just some lifestyle hack. This is the foundation of whether you live as a man of strength or a man of weakness. Whether you coast through life in cycles of fake relief or rise into the version of yourself that history was designed for. Here's what most men don't realize. Your body is not neutral. It's not just drifting through life waiting for you to make choices. It's constantly listening, constantly adapting to the signals you send it. And the strongest signal it listens to is what you do with your sexual energy. That one decision, whether you hold it or waste it, changes the chemistry of your brain, the flow of your hormones, and the power of your motivation. It's not philosophy, it's biology. When you keep that energy inside, your system shifts gears. Testosterone climbs higher. Dopamine becomes sharper. Growth hormone increases. Your brain wires stronger links between desire and action. Your body starts acting like it's preparing for war or for building something massive. You feel more restless, more alert, more alive. Challenges start looking less like obstacles and more like targets. You're literally optimized to fight, to build, to chase. That's nature's design. Pressure builds until it explodes into creation. But the moment you release it the easy way, everything flips. Prolactin floods your system. Testosterone drops. Dopamine crashes. And suddenly that restless fire disappears. You feel satisfied, but weak. Relaxed, but directionless. Your biology thinks you've already won the prize. Evolution assumes you've just passed on your genes, so it tells you to stop competing and start conserving. That makes sense in the wild. But here, in modern life, it's a disaster, because you can trigger the same chemical crash without ever achieving anything real. You can fool your system into believing you've succeeded, while your actual life stays exactly the same. That's why the cycle feels so brutal. 1 minute you're buzzing with energy, ready to take on the world. The next, you're drained and unmotivated, staring at your phone, telling yourself, you'll try again tomorrow. It's not that your dreams are too big. It's that your chemistry has been hacked. You keep pressing the release button that tells your body you've already conquered, when in reality, you haven't moved an inch. It's like cashing a paycheck without ever showing up to work. The money feels real in the moment, but nothing is in the bank. And here's the dangerous part. Do it once, and your body recovers. Do it over and over, and you start to rewire your entire system. Those pathways of motivation atrophy. Your tolerance for tension shrinks. You get used to cheap victories instead of demanding real ones. That's why so many men today feel numb. It's not depression. It's not lack of opportunity. It's years of tricking their own biology into shutting down the drive that was built to make them great. Think about history for a second. The pyramids didn't rise out of comfort. Skyscrapers weren't built by men chasing shortcuts. Every lasting monument of human achievement is proof of one thing: raw energy being directed, not dissipated. Those men didn't have infinite screens, infinite distractions, infinite ways to waste their drive. They had pressure, they had hunger, and because they couldn't escape it with an easy release, they had no choice but to channel it into something that outlived them. Now compare that to today. Millions of men walk around with that same fire burning inside them, but instead of building anything, they bleed it out through easy outlets. Porn, junk food, video games, endless scrolling, all designed to trick the brain into thinking, I've done enough, I can relax. But relax into what? A weaker body? A foggier mind? A life that never gets off the ground? That's not relaxation. That's slow decay. This is the hidden epidemic nobody wants to talk about. Men aren't collapsing because society hates them. They're collapsing because their own systems have been hijacked. Because they've been sold the lie that instant pleasure is harmless. But it's not harmless. It rewires your brain. It kills your ambition. It convinces you that you're winning when you're actually falling behind. And worst of all, it makes you comfortable with mediocrity. Every time you choose release over retention, you're sending your nervous system a command. Don't build. Don't fight. Don't rise. You're teaching yourself that comfort is better than conquest. And slowly, day after day, you become a man who no longer feels the urge to do anything great. The fire goes out, not because you didn't have it, but because you kept smothering it before it could spread. But here's the flip side. Eliminate the easy outlets, and something incredible happens. The pressure builds, the tension grows, and if you can hold it, if you can let it rise without running from it, that energy will transform you. You'll start to feel the same drive that built empires, the same hunger that fueled warriors and inventors, the same restless ambition that has always been at the core of masculinity. That's the secret. The urge is not the problem. The urge is the path. The mistake modern men make is seeing tension as suffering instead of seeing it as fuel. They feel the discomfort and think, I need relief. But the truth is that discomfort is the signal that greatness is loading. It's the weight that forges strength. Without it, there is no growth. Without it, there is no creation. And until you learn to hold it, to ride it, to channel it, you'll stay trapped in the cycle of temporary highs and permanent stagnation. So the question is simple. Are you going to keep letting your biology get hijacked by shortcuts? Or are you going to reclaim control, hold the fire, and use it to build the life you know you're capable of? Because the difference between weak men and strong men isn't talent, isn't luck, isn't opportunity. It's what they do with the energy burning inside them. Most waste it. A few harness it. And history remembers only the few. When you stop leaking energy and start holding it, your body responds in ways most men can't even imagine. At first, it feels like restlessness, like pressure building under your skin. But if you don't run from it, if you don't waste it, that same pressure becomes fuel. Your testosterone begins to climb. Your dopamine system resets. Your brain becomes sharper, faster, hungrier. Suddenly, what once felt like chores begin to feel like challenges, and what once felt impossible starts to look exciting. You notice it in your body first. Workouts hit differently. Weights that used to crush you start to feel lighter. Endurance grows. Recovery speeds up. Even sleep gets deeper and more restorative. That's not magic. That's biology returning to its natural state. Because the male body was never designed to run on empty. It was designed to stockpile energy and then use it to build muscle, hunt, fight, and create. By keeping that energy, you're feeding the very systems that make you stronger. Men report gaining mass, cutting fat, and feeling an intensity in the gym that they've never felt before. And the best part? It's sustainable. It doesn't fade after a few weeks. It compounds because your hormones finally stop working against you and start working for you. But the changes aren't just physical. The real transformation happens in your mind. Your focus locks in. You can sit with a problem for hours without drifting. You start finishing tasks you used to abandon. You begin reading, learning, solving, creating, and it actually feels good, not forced. That foggy, half-distracted state disappears. In its place, you get clarity, drive, and momentum. This is what happens when dopamine sensitivity resets. Instead of needing constant stimulation, your brain starts rewarding real progress. Small wins feel huge. Hard work feels natural. Productivity feels less like punishment and more like expression. And with focus comes creativity. Sexual energy is creative energy. It's the force designed to create life. And when it's not being wasted, it doesn't disappear. It redirects. That's why so many great artists, writers, and inventors throughout history went through periods of abstinence during their most prolific years. They were tapping into the same energy that fuels desire, but instead of letting it dissipate, they turned it into art, innovation, business, and breakthroughs. When you hold that power, you'll find yourself flooded with ideas, insights, solutions you couldn't see before. Projects that felt like a burden start to pull you in. Work feels less like obligation and more like a calling. You stop daydreaming about what you could do someday and start actually doing it. Then comes the shift in confidence. You walk differently. You speak differently. People feel it before you even open your mouth. It's in your posture, your tone, your eye contact. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into room and start filling them with your presence. That's not fake bravado. That's hormones. Higher testosterone doesn't just build muscle. It builds dominance displays, assertiveness, leadership tendencies. And women notice, often without even knowing why. They sense the difference. They feel drawn to the man who carries pressure instead of running from it. They're wired to respond to men who project energy, strength, and composure. But it's not just attraction. Your relationships change because you change. You're no longer needy, no longer desperate for approval, no longer chasing validation. You carry yourself as a man who doesn't beg for attention, but commands it naturally. And that shift makes everything smoother. Conversations, connections, leadership in groups. You become the type of man others want to follow, not because you ask, but because your presence makes them believe you know where you're going. And here's where it gets even more powerful: risk tolerance. When you're drained, every challenge feels overwhelming. When you're charged, those same challenges feel exciting. Men who retain and channel their energy often find themselves more willing to start businesses, switch careers, or take bold steps others avoid. It's not recklessness, it's clarity. The fog lifts, and suddenly, risk doesn't look like danger. It looks like opportunity. And because you're sharper, stronger, and more disciplined, you're better at choosing the right risks. Not reckless gambles, but intelligent moves that push your life forward. That's the compound effect of discipline. Once you prove to yourself you can control your most primal urge, everything else becomes easier. Eating clean feels natural. Sticking to a workout plan feels automatic. Time management stops being a struggle. Financial discipline sharpens. Why? Because it's the same muscle, the same delayed gratification that keeps you from wasting energy also keeps you from wasting money, time, and health. One skill, self-control, ripples across every part of your life. And slowly, day by day, you stop being the man who sabotages himself and start being the man who builds himself. This is why retention is not just a trick. It's not some fringe practice. It's the foundation of real transformation. It's the one shift that touches everything: your body, your mind, your relationships, your future. Most men never experience it because they quit too early. They give in to the discomfort. They think the restlessness means something's wrong. But the truth is, that restlessness is the signal that something's about to be born. Hold it, channel it, and you become unstoppable. Waste it, and you stay trapped in the same cycle of promises and failures. The difference is visible. You can see it in the eyes of a man who carries energy versus the eyes of one who drains it. One looks alive, alert, magnetic. The other looks dull, tired, defeated. That's the gap retention creates. And the choice is in your hands. Most men will never understand how much of their potential they've thrown away. They'll live their lives chasing tiny bursts of pleasure, convinced that they're doing fine, while deep down they know something is missing. They'll keep repeating the cycle: restless energy, quick release, hollow satisfaction, until years pass and nothing has changed. And when they finally look back, they'll realize the truth. It wasn't bad luck or lack of opportunity that held them down. It was the way they managed their own energy, or rather, the way they failed to manage it. This is why energy retention matters, because it's not just about sex. It's not about denial. It's not about repression. It's about the most basic form of power a man has. Life energy, drive, ambition, and the way you handle it determines everything else. Every decision you make, every goal you chase, every achievement you build, it all starts here. When you waste that force, you weaken your foundation. When you hold it, you strengthen everything. Your body, your focus, your creativity, your leadership, your relationships, your future. The problem is, most men never get to experience what it feels like to run at full capacity. They've been living on low power mode for so long that they think it's normal. They think being foggy, tired, distracted, unmotivated is just part of life. It's not. It's the price of leaking energy every single day. And because they've never held it, they don't know what it's like to feel unstoppable. They don't know what it's like to wake up every morning with energy that demands to be used, with a mind that stays locked in for hours, with a presence that turns heads the moment they walk into a room. That's the man you become when you master retention. Not because you're suppressing yourself, but because you're finally working with your biology instead of against it. You're no longer trapped in the loop of fake highs and real lows. You're no longer being played by systems that profit from your weakness. You're no longer begging for motivation. You're carrying it inside you at all times. And here's the paradox. The men who learn to hold their energy don't just change what they do. They change who they are. They stop being the kind of men who drift and start being the kind who build. They stop being men who collapse under pressure and start being men who thrive under it. They stop being men who talk about what they'll do someday and start being men who do it now. And that transformation doesn't just shift their own lives. It impacts everyone around them, their families, their friends, their communities. Because masculine energy, when it's held and directed, is contagious. It inspires, it leads, it multiplies. So what happens if you don't make the change? That's the question you need to ask yourself right now. Because the cost of wasting energy isn't just lost opportunities, it's lost years. It's wasted potential. It's the silent regret that builds as you realize you had the power to be more, to do more, to live more, but you chose comfort instead. And comfort is a lie. Comfort is the slow death of ambition. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. But there's another path, the path of pressure, the path of fire, the path of choosing tension today so you can claim strength tomorrow, the path of holding what other men throw away and turning it into fuel that makes you unstoppable. That's what retention really is. Not sacrifice, but investment. Not loss, but leverage. The ability to take the strongest force you've ever felt and turn it into results that compound over years, even decades. The choice is yours. You can stay stuck in the loop of temporary relief and long-term weakness, or you can break out and reclaim the drive that's been yours since the beginning. You can keep pressing the release button until your ambition dies, or you can hold the fire and use it to build the life you've always wanted. You can keep pretending it doesn't matter, or you can face the truth that it matters more than anything. Because here's the reality. The difference between the men who rise and the men who stay average is not talent. It's not luck. It's not connections. It's energy. What they do with it, how they channel it, whether they waste it or wield it. History remembers the men who wielded it. The rest disappear into comfort. So the question is simple, but the answer defines your future. Are you going to keep being the man who settles? Or are you going to become the man who builds, who leads, who conquers, who creates? That decision starts right now. If you're ready to step into that version of yourself, then don't just watch this video and forget it. Act on it. Make the choice today to hold your energy, to channel it, to master it. Because once you do, you'll never look at yourself or your life the same way again.